Well, on Monday, Greece got a new prime minister and a new party, the New Democracy Party, a center-right party. I'll show you the significance of that in a minute. They won by a 39.6% vote compared to the Syriza, the existing party, 31.6%. That is a landslide in Greece that has a multifaceted party system, especially in this time period. So this is a big deal. What does the new party promise? We're going to make Greece great again. We are going to basically make it more business friendly. It's no longer going to be the problem child of Europe that always needs help and bailouts. They're going to cut taxes and cut regulations. That's what far right, or center right in this case, Republican parties do. Now, that is definitely the right direction for Greece. They have way too much bureaucracy, too big an underground economy where people aren't paying taxes, and I don't see them talking about addressing that. But they also still have 181% government debt to GDP, the highest in the developed world. Only Japan higher at 250%, certainly the highest in Europe. Their demographics, along with Germany, Italy, and Portugal, and Spain, just down the line, are the worst in Europe and the worst in the world outside of Japan and some East Asian countries now. So this is going to be a very difficult battle. Yes, they are going in the right direction. They do need to make it more business friendly, but they're fighting terrible demographics, terrible debt. Now their total debt is not as bad, 306%, 250-ish in the private sector. Why? They don't have the big financial sector that countries like the UK and the US do. So, can they do this? I think they're going to run into big problems, and there's going to be another party reelected in the years to come. Why? Of course, we see the worst of the global crisis, the winter season coming, and that is going to make it very hard to not run higher government and debt when you're trying to cut taxes and improve businesses. It's going to be very hard to do that from my point of view. There's a more important lesson here, though. Greece was the first to see this populist movement that we're seeing around the world on an 84-year cycle, as Andy and I showed in 0 Hour. They started with the far-right policy in 2012, the Golden Dawn, anti-immigrant, all this sort of stuff. That didn't work. 2015, the Syriza party came in. That was more far left. They were talking about exiting the euro and fighting austerity and things like that. That didn't work so well. So now you have this new democracy party. This is what happens to populist movements. They are different. Populist movements come in times of high discontent, and they come from the sectors of society or a country or a region that are falling behind. They are angry, and this is good. It is a big push for change. It always starts change. It does not finish change because it takes progressive movements to make things better. Populist movements want to go back to the past, and far right is typical of that. Let's go back to the 50s and 60s. When the world was different, government wasn't as big, and everybody was happy, and middle-class jobs paid well. You can't go back. You can't go backwards without losing competitiveness. And that always happens. That's why populism movement, the last populist movement was centered in Europe, and the key was, the critical component was Hitler and Germany and Mussolini. They wanted to go backwards. They wanted to fight a shrinking pie by taking over other countries. That is not the best way to do it, and that did not last, obviously. Now, what I see happening with a global crisis coming, I think a few years from now, they will have bigger debt problems. Even though they're heading in the right direction by being more business friendly, that's going to be hard to achieve in a down economy. I'm willing to bet they end up with a center-left government a few years from now, because that's more what happens after depression and deleveraging in a time of high income inequality, where the Republicans and the right parties do very well. People tend to go towards, no, we have to redistribute income, and certainly we don't want to cut taxes for businesses and richer people. So that's probably the end here, but this is a perfect scenario. 2012, far right, perfect place to stop a populist movement. Then you try to far left when that has problems, and then you go to center left, right here, which is better and is an improvement, but they probably end up center left. And it says for everybody else, our populist movement started 2016, 17, let's call it, with Trump, and in UK with Brexit and stuff. These things will not end up where they start. It takes something that raises, you have to create a new middle class, not go back to the old middle class. The new middle class will be people augmented by artificial intelligence. The one thing that everyday people and a lot of parties fear. They will be augmented, making decisions, being entrepreneurs within businesses, and they will get paid more for making decisions and creating profits, not by doing rote work that if it's not taken over by an Asian worker or a Mexican worker here or abroad, it doesn't matter if they're here or abroad, they still compete. It'll be taken over by a robot next, and that'll all happen. So this revolution's not over, but this is an instructive lesson. Populist movements are an important start to a revolution. It's not where the revolution ends. The American Revolution came out with an entirely new, better system of governing, more bottoms up, and technologies brought capitalism, a more bottoms up system of innovation. Adam Smith. That's the type of things we need. We need a new network economy. We need better jobs from people doing human things, which means making decisions and dealing with customers, not doing robotic, bureaucratic, and factory jobs. That is not going to be the revolution. But this is a great thing. Step in the right direction. No way it's going to work in the next few years. Keep you updated.
Which will come out on top in this modern-day battle of the monetary titans, Bitcoin or gold? Click the link in the description below this video to download your free report.